Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Todd Russell, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, JMails24, Yuyanamento, M Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. I think he's talking to Eugene.
He's too tired.
Man, I'm just waking up here.
Yeah. Well, good morning.
Sunny Fort Worth, Texas.
Nice. So, Nathan, report in.
Check in with us.
How much?
Dave McKean got a lot to say about you. It was trash response
that?
video, though. Dave McKeegan, he made a response video with Nathan Oakley's name in it.
Oh, wonderful. We should see it.
Is that the guy that I reluctantly covered that you posted, Gene?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So you're saying the guy I reluctantly covered has responded?
Yes, and this is the most viewed video.
Oh, joy.
So, Gene, what do you make of his response? Without us seeing it, how would you summarize it?
All I gathered from it was this line. Well, the moon's still pretty far.
That's it?
I mean, that's all I remember from it.
The moon is still pretty far.
Yeah, that's basically what I got from it. But in the comments, I was telling people, like, you guys are right. His videos, his camera videos got very little views.
You're breaking up.
All of a sudden.
You're going further
You
away
know?
from your mic or something because you're getting quieter and louder.
No, I got it.
Yeah, drop and rejoin then because you're going in and out.
All right. Okay.
All right. Hey, Nathan, did you know the moon is pretty far?
No, we debunked the R value that they used to make the assertion of the distance, so no.
So he sees you debunk the R value, and his response is, yeah, but the moon is still pretty far.
Maybe. I wanna cover the mainstream priests.
I know. The ones I sent you.
I'm sure I said to Gene at the time, all this is doing is dragging us back into the pond for a wrangle-dangle in the pond that we're already in. Now, if this guy's a newcomer to anti-flat earthism, I don't care. But, I mean, we covered him, so he's responded. Good for him. I'm sure it's excellent.
Yeah. The moon is pretty far.
Yes.
No,
Hey,
I know what you want.
Hey.
Yeah, go ahead, Righteous, and then I'll talk.
I'll just be very quick. You know that video it did on that guy on YouTube, and then it did a video back on you? Well, I noticed this might do something, because it might bring new people that are introduced to this scene through those guys, right? So that might be an upside to it. That's all I wanted to say.
Where's Neil when you need
No,
him? The more I try get out, the more they keep dragging me back in.
All right, Michael. The you've made your sentiments clear. That's why I tried to find you Neil deGrasse, all the main players, because whatever's on the first 10 pages of the YouTube or anything as a response to flat Earth, that's who I'm after, and especially the first 2 pages, because sometimes they stick some nobody somewhere, but
Right.
those are the ones you want, the main, because that's the ones our
Hello.
friends are watching.
Yes, I agree, and I totally agree, and I'm sure you realise that when I favour your videos that you pick over everyone else's 10th. I'm sure you realise that. Yes, Jen.
Well, no, you've said it.
Hopefully
You've said it already.
Oh, 1 sec, 10th. Just do a quick sound check, Gene.
My check.
Much better.
Ooh.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good morning. No, yeah, just to finish up that, I heard you, once we started going this direction, I heard you say that. So that's why I stuck to the key players. But Righteous does have a point, and we might get something out of them. It's not going to be your main effort. I mean, we'd have to run out of all the top players and get bored to go to them, but there is an upside. Not much, but the main players are the upside, because people will type in flat Earth, which is what I do, debunk flat Earth, which is what I do, or anything similar to those words, and I see what pops up, and I say, okay, so the masses are being programmed by this. Let's debunk it. Let's review it. Let's see what they're saying. And so this is going to be very good for anyone who follows your channel, is because when their friends say, yeah, but I saw this video. Oh, you mean this one that we already reviewed? It's over for them. They boycott us. That was the worst thing they did. They won't concede. Yeah. That was the second worst thing they did. Now we go review everything they put there as a programming lie to our friends and cousins and family members. And now they're in trouble.
Yeah, it's that guy that I told you guys to review, Dave McKeegan. I don't know. The McKeegan guy. That's the guy. And like I was telling you guys, yeah, he would just do camera stuff. I think Brian or I don't know who pointed out, but he would do camera stuff. As soon as he started talking about flat Earth, his video views went up.
Yeah, I was the guy that noticed that, and yeah, he was doing camera stuff and he was getting maybe like 1K views, and then he started getting into FE, and they went like to like 400K or something like that.
Yeah, well, the first one went to 25K, and it just been up and up from there. So even people telling me, why are you entertaining this stupid nonsense? And I would tell people in the comments, well, look at the views, brother.
And then one of the guys,
I just pulled up on YouTube, sorry. Dave McKeegan, flat Earth argument that disproves flat Earth theory, 150,000 views 1 month ago, 8 minutes, 30 seconds. So he's on the front page already, because there's so many people who will not do their own research, do their homework, and they're stumped by all of the globe inaccuracies, inconsistencies. So they go to YouTube. Oh, okay, I'll watch this guy, because so all the YouTubers know all they got to do is say flat Earth, and they're going to have a waiting audience of sheep.
Yeah,
hey,
if they're an anti-flat earther. But
yeah,
okay, so is the next Simon Dan big wow?
Hey Nathan, have you thought of a second channel that's not demonetized and not algorithmically effed?
We seem to be having a bit of deja vu. We've had all of these conversations. We've assessed Dave McKeegan in regards to his prominence within flat Earth, and discussed the fact that he hoovers up all of the views we don't get because we are algorithmically censored, and the fact that I've got multiple channels. I've got 4 channels. I've got Nathan Oakley 1980, Oakley Cord, and renamed from a previous channel that my wife owned, Audio Paula, now Flat Earth Debate. 2 are backup channels, Oakley Cord and Audio Paula, now Flat Earth Debate. Both are just repurposed channels that both of us had randomly before I got into this. My main channels, both monetized, are both separate channels on separate accounts with separate YouTube everything. Separate Google everything, sorry. So they are individual channels, and they do behave differently under different circumstances. Back in the day, it was sometimes more beneficial to go live on the second channel than it was on the main channel. You just work with what you've got. So yes, I have taken those things into consideration, and I'm fortunate in regards to how I set up my original accounts. I didn't just set up secondary accounts that were attached to my initial account. They're all separate. They're just individual, separate accounts. Now, does that mean that they're affected differently? Yes. Does it mean that I can work that to my advantage? No. Once the algorithm figures out that I'm pro-flat Earth, doesn't matter what channel I'm on. Ultimately, the same thing is reverse true with someone like Dave McKeegan or Simon Dan. He makes some crappy video responding to some flat earther that's saying a gate proves flat Earth, and you say, oh, it doesn't, and it'll get 100 million views. Okay, big wow. If you went out into the street and asked if they knew who Simon Dan was, the answer would be no. If you asked them who Neil deGrasse Tyson was, they say, yeah, I do, yeah. So who have I got concern for? And
I
from
get
the
it. I
sounds
get
of
it.
things,
You're
when
right
you talk
about that. You're
when you
right
talk
about
about these
that.
numpties, they don't know their own rhetoric. So, that was abundantly clear with the debate I went on last week.
No.
They don't know their own
Yeah,
arguments.
you're right about that. But I want to say, good thing is he put your full name in his latest video. That's only a plus.
Okay. Well, in that regard, thank you for the advert, Dave McKeegan. Wonderful. Hopefully he's returning the favour. When I shared his video, I did the same. I put his links out there so people could go and check him out. And as a YouTuber, I expect that. I'm not saying I won't be grateful when people do it, because most of the time they don't. But, yeah, that's mutual respect as a YouTuber, as it should be. But do I want to cover him again? Because he's responded to me? And from the sounds of things, from what you've told me, Gene, his response is, well, he's still pretty far away. All right, okay. Did you not hear us covering how your R value is acquired and the essence of its measurements being debunked? Clearly not. Do I need to cover that again? I would say no. I mean, if you guys especially want me to cover it because it's super riveting, then we will, because I'm reactive.
Let me just give you some numbers. So I'm just scrolling here, finding you a video for today if you have time for it. He's got one a month ago, How to Silence the Flat Earther, says 175,000 views. Then
That's the one we reviewed.
Hang on, yeah. And now he's got one that says Flat Earth Evidence That Shows Curvature. 2 weeks ago, 159,000 views. And this is all, hang on, guys. And this is all Dave McKeegan. And then not the latest one I see is 2 days ago, which is, I think, the one Gene's referring to, says, Nathan Oakley tried to destroy my video, shows picture of you, the moon, and him, and it says it did not go well. So, yeah, all he's doing is trying to get views because flat Earth is a hot topic.
Anti-flat Earth is a hot topic for YouTube algorithmically.
Yep. Well, yeah.
That's crazy. The topic is hot, but they'll censor you. Goddamn.
Don't blaspheme, please, Gene.
What do you expect? I mean, come on. We know what's happening. It's not a surprise.
So there was no meat on it then for us to cover, I take it, even if I wanted to, which I don't.
I was
You don't
hoping you
think
would
Gene
have
remembers?
seen it already.
Me?
But I wouldn't do it, man. I mean, it's just like there's less science in it now.
Right, which is what I'd expect from a newbie anti-flat earther who's just riding the wave of views. The less you know when they start promoting you, the better in terms of anti-flat earth, which is something I do find quite interesting. Yeah? The more naive, stupid, ignorant you are, the more likely you'll get boosted to the top. So when Simon Dan experienced what Dave McKeegan's experiencing, I was like, why this complete numpty with a base surface level understanding of things? Why? It makes no sense. Well, maybe it's because he's a numpty with a surface level understanding of things. And Keegan's no different. He's a numpty. He doesn't know anything. He's got a base level misapprehension about how his own model works, and he's attacking straw men that flat earthers have been laid out since 2015 at the straw man feast of nonsense. That's what he's undoing. Okay, that's bottom of the barrel, absolute garbage.
Sorry. I was just saying he's got a model. I never knew they presented a model. I've been waiting to see this model. Where is it?
The Earth Chronicles episode on their Badlands Media Rumble channel has the most views. I believe it was like at 45,000 so far.
I'd like to respond to that. Obviously, yesterday, Flatzoid couldn't finish his review. He's going to have a part 4 now, and hopefully he can finish. So he's taken 4 shows to review that video that you have with Chronicles and those two guys, and you and Patrick did a great job. But it was interesting because I've only watched it once, and I said to myself, you need to watch this video several times. There's so many gold nuggets in there. And I just haven't had the time. But what I do remember was before the show started and how the host, the guy on the top left as you're looking at the screen, not Josh, the Navy guy, was talking to Patrick and you, Nathan, only at the time. And he was acting as if he didn't know what you really did by asking, what do you do? What's going on? And then you told me you had a FED channel. But, oh, okay. Then later, towards the end of the show, when Red's Rhetoric and all those names came up, you said, yeah, I've already talked to them. He said, yeah, I know, I watched them.
Yeah, he's disingenuous.
I mean,
Yeah, I caught that. I caught that too, Tim.
Yeah. It's these little things that pop up that they pretend to be balanced, non-biased. We're just going to have a debate. We're going to take what we think compared to what you think, what science has, what science doesn't have. And it's all a game. They're not honest at the beginning or the middle or the end. And then, of course, what proved it all was the fact they didn't even know their own rhetoric, which was so embarrassing for them.
Not only that, they claim that it's not their claim. The sphere is not their claim.
That's the same thing I just said.
He would say 2014, since 2015, he's been watching the Flat Earth debate, or he's been interested in Flat Earth content since 15. Yeah.
And I caught that too, Gene. And it's interesting. He's never seen the Black Swan in that time?
No.
That's my favorite.
Let me just clear something up. Stop. Okay. You know how we point out that people on the globe side of the argument will use the word of science when they don't have any science? Okay. Likewise, the terminology we've been discussing algorithmically in regards to flat Earth is the same in the mind's eye of your average normie now, as a result of the search engine being provided to them in the manner that it is. So if you're presented flat Earth as Simon Dan, Fight the Flat Earth, Dave McKeegan, if that's how you're presented it, formerly Red Rhetoric, Blue Marble Science, Rumpus, whoever, yeah? If that's what you've been following, then that is what you will label what you've searched for. What are you looking for to research? Flat Earth. What did you do to find it? I typed in Flat Earth. What did you find? I found this guy called Simon Dan. And I found this guy called Red Rhetoric. And I found this guy called Blue Marble Science. All right, and that's you studying Flat Earth since 2014. Yep. Do you see where I'm going?
And it goes unchallenged. But
No,
you've
missed what stop. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. What I'm saying is, if you search for science, you won't find cause and effect reasoning based on a hypothesis. That's not what you'll find. And if you search flat Earth, that is not what you'll find. You'll find whatever is beneficial to the current rhetoric when you search that term. So when you search science, you find pseudoscience that benefits the heliocentric model. When you search flat Earth, you find anti-flat Earth. So when he says, I've been studying flat Earth since 2014, realistically translated, that's I've been studying anti-flat Earth since 2014.
Until towards the end, when he admitted he had watched your videos.
When you say
I
studying,
understand now.
do you mean seeking confirmation bias that I shouldn't look into flat Earth and just convince myself that it is flat because it is a ball because Fight the Flat Earth says so? So I've checked in on these videos, but I've never actually investigated truthfully.
No, well, that's another way of translating it in terms of what's actually occurring. Yes, absolutely. But where I'm going with this isn't necessarily what's actually occurring. It's what's happening in the mind's eye of the person who does the search. So the person who does the search might have the best of intentions. That's why it's algorithmically skewed that way. So that what you find is these people are idiots and here's how they're wrong. And it doesn't matter if how we're wrong is right or wrong if you've not seen what we've got to present in the first place. We're just an interesting folly. When you go and watch Alex Jones, for the sake of argument, if that's the thing that tickles your fancy, right? You're not going to go and search for the person he's doing the story on. You're going to listen to the story, and the person who's the individual that's being discussed, that's in isolation all you know about that person. Are you going to suddenly go out and go, yeah, but is Alex Jones wrong about him? Let's go and have a little look. No. No, these people are bottom feeders. They get presented the information and go, oh, right, okay. You think they're going to do primary source research on it? No. So what do people know of me? Well, they know what Simon Dan's presented about me, or in this case, what Red Rhetoric's presented about me. So when he says he's seen me, no, he's not. He saw Red Rhetoric talking about me. That's what he's actually seen. Yeah? You see where I'm going now?
Yeah, I understand that. I also wanted to ask you, Nathan, were you ever going to abandon ship? Or was that even, did that ever cross your mind or anything? Or
What do you mean, abandon ship?
Have we got a ship?
just like, all right,
Have
you
we got
guys,
a
I'm
boat?
muted, I'm gone.
From what ship, metaphorically speaking, are you talking?
No, in the Earth Chronicles debate, were you ever going to say, hey, I'm muted, I'm leaving?
No. You think that's the first time I've been muted? You've got to be joking. Projection is why I get called for muting people. So I'll be in the middle of a sentence, someone will start talking immediately through me like happened there. If that was my show, do you not think I'd have closed the line on the guy immediately talking through me the moment I started the sentence that was debunking his claim? Of course. Totally reasonable. Why would I allow it? Now, in so doing, they go, Nathan's got a mute button. He doesn't allow fundy rumpusing. How unreasonable. Well, in reality, the reason I've got a show is because I'd go on various different places when I was doing interviews with other flat earthers on how they found themselves here. I went around the circuit debating people on other platforms. Now, at the time, they weren't so bold as to claim they were neutral. They knew what they were. They didn't like us and wanted to debate the subject to show how we were wrong because they feared us. Like now. That was similar. So I went on, and what would happen? I'd get turned down and muted. That meant I immediately strolled away from the platform? No. Far from it. But eventually you get sick of it. You get sick of people sticking you on mute because they don't want to hear you debunking their claim that they don't understand. You go, right, well, I'm not going to tolerate that. We're in the minority, and when we try and fight our cause proactively, we get shut down on these now called neutral platforms. What a joke. Well, the platform I went on recently wasn't a neutral platform. They didn't claim to be a neutral platform. In fact, quite the contrary from what I appreciated within 2 minutes of getting there. They were in the contrary position. They were a hostile platform, and they made no bones about it. And they behaved as such, too. Don't give me crap about, come on my neutral bollocks. Yeah, pay me. That's all you need to do. Give me money. Meanwhile, when it's advantageous to me, I'll go on a hostile platform where people don't want me to talk because I make them look stupid. And they'll subsequently mute me because of it. Outrageous. But people got to see it. Worked to my advantage. Well, I weighed up those options when it came to that particular debate on a hostile platform. And I wasn't going to desert the place and desert my counterpart.
That was, Nathan, that was brilliant what happened there. You couldn't have asked them to behave in the exact same way that the accusations were thrown at you in this debate channel. Yeah. But they did exactly that, 1,000,000 times worse. So rude. You know what I mean? And so apparent that they couldn't cope with it. It was beautiful to me. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Because it's just demonstrated their cogdice, how all the accusations put to you are actually just, most things, projection.
Correct. Projection. And the most frustrating thing was the constant experiment. No matter how many times you explain things, it was like they weren't even paying attention. They're just going to continue to say experiment, continue to not understand when you kept saying the not actual sun. I mean, that's hysterical.
I think
They were saying,
Gene
we got to
knows
go out
this.
to the lake, guys. We got to go out to the lake. Bring your lasers, bring everything, bring a sandwich.
I think Gene knows this, but Patrick asked you to join them and gave you some money. So you got a little bit of money from a friend of the channel.
That's not quite how it went
Patrick
down.
did great.
I just want to correct that. That's not
a
how
bad
it went
timeline.
down. No. What actually happened was Patrick gave me a donation and said, I went on a debate on a completely different subject, but utilising your advice on how to debate, I won. And as a result, I want to give you some money. So he did. That wasn't like millions of pounds or anything, but it was a sum of money. I was like, thank you very much. A short time later, he said, oh, by the way, would you like to come and debate alongside me? Now, there wasn't, you'll be paid for doing it, or that's what the money was for, far from it. Just, would you like to do it? I assessed what he had to offer, where it would be, and decided that it would be a good option to do it. So I agreed to do it. Now, by coincidence, he's already a supporter of mine. He's a patron of mine. He already gives me money. Does that make sense? But he wasn't in any way directly paying me for doing it. I just want to make that absolutely clear.
Good. I'm glad you did, because that's the best version and the true version. So yeah, I'm glad it's recorded so people know.
But while that may be the true version, it doesn't make any difference, because next man, let's say Dick, who comes to comment saying I should go on some neutral platform to no advantage to me whatsoever. No, I'll just take payment for it. You want me to do that? No worries, just give me money. Give me money and I'll do it. We'll work out terms and then I'll do it. No problem. Otherwise, sod off.
Money.
Well, I just want paying.
Well, again, if I could finish, that's exactly what I'm trying to lead to, because I know Brian's logic and myself and Mitchell, and now even Flatsoy. Flatsoy took it a step further, but I'll tell you what he did from yesterday. We say, yeah, $5,000 an hour, and I'll go. And obviously, I'm going to say the same things, and they're going to mute and do whatever. So, and then, they want to, then when they want to offer the 5,000, they want to offer it with terms that aren't agreeable. So that won't work. It's just going to have to be open way of debating, which they'll never agree to. But anyway, Flatsoy yesterday said, these people in chat, I'm not going to answer the questions until they send me a super chat. So all these trolls in chat who are typing in, they just ignore now. And hey, if you want me to answer that, send me a super chat. Because if you want an answer, you got to pay for it. So I thought that was good for the chat.
Nice move, Flatsoy. I like it.
Yeah, big shout out to Flatsoy. He's been covering, as you say, the last.
I don't know if I like that.
Why not?
Why not?
This information is valuable.
Even now,
no, these are trolls, Gene. These are people who constantly just go there, and it's like what's his name? Who always changes the subject. The school teacher, what's his name? He's on our channel all the time. He shouldn't be anymore because he's not honest.
Professor Phil?
Yeah, Professor Phil. Thank you. Yeah, Professor Phil. I kept wanting to say Bill, and I knew it was wrong. Yeah, Professor Phil, on the back and forth on chat just last week with me, I'd say one thing to answer a particular statement he said. Then he would change it to, well, what if I'm on land and there's a mountain there? I can't use the sextant and the horizon. Then I'd answer that, and then he'd change again. It's like, how many times have we covered that there's the bubble version, because all you have to do is establish horizontal, and there's the liquid mercury version that Lewis and Clark used, and then there's the navigator at sea who's got an actual horizon to have the horizon mirror placed on. There's three ways of getting the same reading, all needing a tangent plane, a level, a horizontal. I mean, they know this, but he keeps coming in there and confusing people by changing around. And this is what these guys did on the debate with you as well. Like, they'll start somewhere, you debunk it, rather than, that's a good point, I got to concede because I got no way out of here. They can never say that. They can never go around that or stay until that point is finished to at least. So here's what they do. Well, let's just agree to disagree agreeably. Well, now, this isn't a point you can disagree agreeably because we're talking about geometry. It's just going to be this or that. Okay, or they'll say, as they did with you, you know what? How would that work on a flat Earth? Reverse the burden of proof. And then when called on it, that's a reverse the burden of proof because they got stuck and couldn't answer the question with their globe nonsense. Here's what came to save them, or they thought it did. Well, listen, I only did that for the audience sake. Well, the audience sake wants to see a debate and a clear winner. not someone who can't answer a globe claim and then say, well, how would that work on the flat earth? Because I can't answer it on the globe claim because I'm stuck and I look stupid. So I need to reverse the burden of proof and then say, well, the only reason I did was to help the greater audience. What a weasel.
Hey, Tent, they don't even know their own globe. How could they? Nathan had to teach them, like you said.
No, this is what we covered earlier. They don't even know their own model, their own claim, whatever they want to refer to it as. It's spinning, but we don't have spin. It's got a radius, and we have an arc that blocks the bottoms of boats and buildings, but we never could see it. And then they contradict each other. Well, you can't see it because the Earth is so big, so it looks flat. Then the other guy shows Lake Pontchartrain. Well, you see it there. There's your 1.22, right? Is that what you're referring to in that Lake Pontchartrain? You just debunk your co-host, if that's what you're referring to. He has no idea that in Louisiana, you've got high humidity and you're over water, and there's pictures that show without that curve, just a straight on a different day. You've got stuff happening in the air that does things, magnification, miraging, all these different things, right? But, you know, you can show a picture of that bridge where there is nothing like weird like that. And the one that I saw back in the day, the guy was in a Marriott hotel shooting it through 2 double pane windows on a hot, humid day. Well, then I should see that everywhere because I should go to the end where it's curving and it should continue to the other end and it will always be curving, but it doesn't. Self-perspective.
At first, I thought they weren't getting it, but then as I listened more and more, they know they're getting it. They just want to spew their nonsense.
We live on a globe that can't prove we're on a globe. The globe is spinning, but we can't prove we're spinning. We got gas pressure next to a vacuum, but somehow it finds a way to stay here. It's over for these guys.
Hey, Tent Man, who gave you that number 3959? That's not my number. That's not how I do it.
Have you heard of Eratosthenes or Al-Biruni, or have you read any books?
We covered that. It's called personalizing the argument. Yeah. So if there's currently a political argument in that regard, yeah, and you say, well, I haven't said that, it's like, no, this is the position of the two parties that have a decision-making ability on this issue. It doesn't matter what your opinion is on it. That's not what we're debating. I'm not debating you and your opinion. We're debating you on the subject matter of.
Well, if everyone has license with liberality to change things, then what is the official view of the globe Earth? Do we even have one? And is that the one based on an R measurement? Because according to that R, we know the distance to their sun is 93 million miles. We know that Venus is the same size as our value. Everything that's ever done in astronomy and space travel, so-called, is based on that R. But if Josh's view of R is different, then it's because it's his personal view.
No. We debunk the official claim of heliocentrism. We don't debunk the claims of numpty dipshits that don't know the claims of heliocentrism. Let's just get that clear.
Yeah, I am very clear. That's what I'm commenting on. His own personal view doesn't matter.
Correct.
It's the official view.
We haven't done housekeeping in a while.
We haven't started the show. What show is this, Nathan? It's been a while.
Up for 1808.
1808?
Yeah.
Clap it up.
Woo!
All right.
Hey, everyone. How are things, Adam? Nathan.
Hey, you're right, Brian. He has a show today.
You just have to believe, Tent.
I can finally
that
put
was fun yesterday.
Hopefully, as we've got 5 minutes left before the live show starts, I can finally put this computer behind me. So the entire time, the motherboard has got this big chunky LED light-ridden box on the inside plate, like on the motherboard surface. And on the side of it is the inputs and outputs that go on to the back of the PC that you plug all your USBs in and stuff, right? Well, that box is so chunky that it was pressing up against the back of the hard drives and preventing the motherboard sitting flush against the cooling plate. That's why it's given me 4 months of aggravation and overheating. So after bringing it back yesterday and going, it's still overheating like it always was. I dug around and tried to figure out what the hell was wrong with it. And with a good idea of why it wasn't going wrong, I could see it was literally 1 degree off compared to the rest of the case. It wasn't sitting aligned. It wasn't parallel with the case, which it should be. Everything's machined, right? So it should be parallel with the case. It wasn't. So I took it back to him and I was like, look, this is how it's not working. This is why it's not working. So between he and I, we managed to force the hard drive cage forward and get maybe 2 mil of relief, slide all the hard drives as far as they could right up against the glass on the other side to just give it a little bit of extra relief. And then with he and I both holding cables out the way and me holding a hard drive back, he managed to force it on proud onto the plate, whatever you call it, flush onto the plate, tighten it, and then let go. So it then put it back together, which took an eternity, putting all the wires back in, put it on the test bench. And previously I'd run a stress test, which is my benchmark to know whether or not I've got the thing about to overheat and shut the show down. And that test would, over the course of a minute, hit a 99C and just sit there. He ran the test and it didn't get over 55C while he was running the test. And I nearly crapped myself. I was like, oh my God, it's like a different computer. So I brought it back, wired it up, and ever since, I said to Adam, I said, I could almost weep. Like the amount of relief that's been washed over me. And I did a little video for the members saying, I've got all these little numbers along the bottom of my taskbar that just tell me the things that are going to go wrong and all the things that are going to overheat, which is everything. And I have to keep an eye on it like an airline pilot doing the scan. Every so often glancing down at all these numbers. Is that going to overheat? Is that going to shut the show down? Do I need to suddenly turn the fans up so they're audible? So I'll have to stay off mute.
So this was going on during the show, and we had no idea that all of this was going on. Hey, the bottom line is we want a show.
Sure,
this is a big show.
What I've been telling you is, I've upgraded one of the fans because you kind of normalise it, so that's how it's. You don't think, no, it's just faulty. Because from day one, I was like, it's faulty, it's broken, it doesn't work properly. But over time, you're like, well, this is now my new computer. So you get used to it, you normalise it, and then it's like, well, I'm just going to upgrade the fans. I'm not going to say I'm constantly stressing about all these numbers I'm looking at. You'll just see me in the intros. Today, I don't even remember looking at myself in the camera because I didn't have to glance down at the numbers, or I didn't glance down at the numbers because I spent several hours testing it, and I'm comfortable and happy that it's functioning like a normal computer finally. So today, I can't remember what the intro will look like with me on camera, or even if I went on camera, because I don't remember having to glance down. But if you look back at every single intro for the last 4 months, I'm constantly looking down and to the right, or on camera, it's probably to the left. These numbers, just checking that the moment I go on camera, it doesn't suddenly overheat the system. Things like that.
That's no weird.
Are the fans taxing the power supply more? These new fans?
I don't even need the fans now. It's a passive computer with an absolutely enormous 5 kilogram heatsink on both the GPU and CPU. It's enormous. It's designed.
Your power supply,
I'm answering you.
Is your power supply by a fan or no?
Okay,
or is it just
the same question again, right through the middle of my answer?
Keep up.
You asked me, is there a power supply fan? So I start answering you, and you asked me the same question right through the middle of the answer. What the fuck?
Oh, I was just gonna say because I got a spare heatsink one. Mine's rated at 850, I believe, the platinum.
I don't need a power supply. I've got a £5,000 PC sat next to me that someone just bought me. The problem with it is the 2 enormous heat sinks that are designed to run without fans have never even managed to sustain mediocre power levels. So what I had to do with the computer is absolutely cobble the living crap out of it and reduce all the power down to virtually nothing, and then put fans on it to keep it cool enough to keep the show running. Now you can.
Nathan.
Go on.
Yeah, Nathan. This reminds me, because hopefully it's a good segue to the live show. This reminds me of Ford versus Ferrari. When Ken Miles would go in that car and know, okay, there's something wrong here. We need to change here because it's got too much drag. Okay, the tires are doing this, we need this. Okay, the brakes, okay. And so Ken Miles knows what the car needs to do because he wants to run at that special place called 7,000 RPMs with no problems. And that's what you remind me of.
Now, it reminds me of celestial navigation, because unless he gets a parallel, it don't work.
I was
Yes,
thinking that too.
That's
Adam.
correct.
Good one.
Unless the motherboard's parallel with the heatsink, it's not going to cool because it's not contacting it properly. There's a gap, and it's only contacting through the material that is spread on. That's only supposed to even out any gaps when it is flush, but it was just making contact through that. So it never. It's not that I was being perfectionist. It's just I grew up around computers. I built them as a kid. My parents ran computer shops, did networking. My dad was a programmer. I know enough about computers. I've built plenty of my own. I know how a functioning computer should operate. So it's not like I'm just being fussy. From day one, I've gone, it's not right. It doesn't function correctly. Now, when it's a gift, it's not like you can just say, this isn't good enough for my money. You know, you kind of deal with it. Now, fortunately, I've got a guy now who's now become my friend that has worked through this with me for 4 straight months, with it being a pain in the ass, and eventually, with my help and his help, got to the bottom of it to the point where, like I say, now I'm hopefully never ever going to have to mention it again for like 5 years, the length of the life of the computer. It'll probably have 1 graphics card or maybe 2 graphics card upgrades, like every other computer I've ever had through its course of its life. Hopefully it won't need a new power supply or hard drives in that time. Probably will. My point is that while it's sat there for the next 5 years, I don't want to think it doesn't function properly as a PC ever again. And I don't think I will ever have to, which I'm just very, very, very pleased about. Welcome, Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Neil Constantino, 10th Man Rising, Eli Freeman, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Afternoon.
Thursday.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Thursday.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I'm going to
Neil's,
let Neil finish up. Hello, everybody.
yeah, Neil shouting through the background. It's Thursday. Just obviously start with an in-joke because Neil's here. So Neil's objecting to the fact that I've had my computer out of the studio for the last 4 or 5 days because it's had a new fan fitted, which meant there wasn't a show. So it's just as simple as that. And Neil's like, very, very put out by this, are you not, Neil? Oh, got a super chat immediately. 4 more hours, says JMels24. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support straight off the bat.
It's
Neil had
just
to
that
bring out the boxing gloves to
Yes,
cope
I had it.
yesterday.
I had to beat up my back, but it's a testament to this show. This show needs to go on every day.
What, you miss listening back to your interruptions and stuff?
Listen, you know what I'm talking about. This is a show that needs to go on, and when it's not on, I mean, people feel it.
No, I do get that. There's a certain aspect of familiarity in there's a I'm not. It's a terrible comparison. I'm not comparing my audience to the people who are sat at home watching Jeremy Kyle, but that's just what came to mind. You know, when you've got housewives and various different people, maybe here in the UK, some people who are unemployed would sit around and they'd watch Jeremy Kyle over and over again. What's the equivalent over you guys? Jerry Springer.
It's The View.
No,
View.
it's The Price is Right with Bob Barker.
Not necessarily game
View
shows. No.
Joy Bearhart and Whoopi Goldberg.
It's more like The View. That's a much better comparison, right? So
Like Loose Women.
Don't
over here.
compare us to those liberals.
Exactly, Loose Women, The View, right? Those sorts of shows, people get familiar with them. They know the schedule, and they just want to tune in and hear people talking. And in the same way, I do understand that there is a certain, you know, individual called Neil who wants that also from the show. So yeah, I get it totally.
So we got a loose Neil.
That's a good one. There was a lot of puns yesterday.
Okay.
Let's get on with housekeeping.
Well, and we will get to housekeeping, but we're going to be in slightly more expansive, but hopefully concise in regards to housekeeping today, because there's a lot of new subscribers who've come to this show today. I say today, over the last week. There's several hundred new subscribers, which is great. You know, I'm all for new subscribers. Almost, you know, at 25,000, which I will definitely celebrate, as I think that's a definite milestone. I'm sure.
Yippee.
I've mentioned before why 25,000 is a YouTube milestone, but we won't get into that now. Anyway, we will be celebrating. Should I get another 500 subscribers? Anyway, the point is.
A plaque in the mail.
Say again.
Hello.
Hey, Alwyn. Say again, Gene.
Will you be getting a plaque on the mail for 25K?
No, far from it. 100K gets you a plaque. Anyway, that aside, it's still a milestone in terms of things you can turn on. I just don't want to discuss it now. But the point is, there's new people here, so hopefully we can stay concise, which we're failing at already, in terms of each housekeeping question and why it gets asked. I don't want this to take forever, so I do kind of want to rattle through the questions, but give an outline to it. So hopefully if you can have that kind of hat on before we get into the housekeeping, that'd be greatly appreciated. Everyone got that hat on? If not, stick it on now.
What got my Christian hat on?
Arwin wants clarity. Let me give it him. What we're going to do, Arwin, is we're going to go through each housekeeping question, but we're going to explain why it's a housekeeping question, but in as concise a manner as we can, and then move on. Does that make sense?
Okay. So Arwin, not Baldwin.
If Baldwin needs to get involved, he's more than welcome.
Like it.
Only if he doesn't get rumpus.
I love it. Just like the rumpus would do. Immediately poison the well that I'm going to be the one doing the rumpusing to you. We begin, ladies and gentlemen. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
It's within our considerations.
Good morning.
No, the horizon is not
our curve.
Black Swan is the stock answer for me there.
What's the Black Swan?
Perfect.
Well, it's a syllogism. Does someone want to jump in there? Or?
No, it's a syllogism. It's you mentioned about Karl Popper, then I'll give the Modestolens after. Adam.
Fundamentally, that's been a all Earth claim for a while. And with their geometry, there are limitations to that. So if we use it, we can say, if the horizon is the leading edge of a ball in their claim, and the distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. A geometric limitation can be less than that. So if we're looking at the Black Swan pictures, we can see through the markers, which are the oil rigs, that the horizon, which is in the distance, is further than the oil rigs, which are marked at 6 and 9 miles. So if we call it 10 miles, we can see that at an observer height of 1 foot, we have a horizon rendering it past 9 miles, 10 miles. So if the horizon was the leading edge of a sphere, then the commensurate equivalent sized R value you would get for that is 250,000 miles. So the horizon cannot be Earth curve.
Perfect. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
See question number 1.
Yeah, you're going to need a sphere for it to be a sphere spinning, but there is a positive assertion that we have Coriolis deflection. Any numpty will know when I say Coriolis, most, if not all of them, who aren't familiar with this debating subject, would assume the word Coriolis is synonymous with a turning Earth, like mutually inclusive only. And it's not. It's an effect that you observe if you're on a turning reference frame, i.e. you're on a roundabout, and you look at something tossed over the top of you spinning on a roundabout. The thing tossed over the top of you in a straight line looks like it curves. That's Coriolis effect. And Earth's claimed to have that effect. But it doesn't.
No. The globe Earth claim is Coriolis, but what they're claiming is not Coriolis. Coriolis effect is an apparent effect, an optical phenomenon, whereas what the globe Earth claims is an actual deviation, not an apparent one. And there is no evidence of this actual deviation. There should be a deviation north to south and south to north for all flights flying that route, due south and due north. There should be an actual deviation that they have to make and correct for when they're flying due south and due north. That correction was never made, not even once in history.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's give a little bit of clarity to this subject, which is the most complicated. Hopefully we'll get past it in this next remark. So what Brian's detailing is the two different effects that you would observe. Now, if you're talking about Coriolis in the truest sense of the word, which is associated to a claim of a globe Earth turning, then that effect specifically is you on the roundabout, as I described, with, say, an aeroplane moving over the top of it, and you looking at the aeroplane looking like it curves. What Brian's describing is the actual curved path that planes would actually take in their description of Globiolis effect, which we also assert you would have to see. Now, they assert that they have it, but when they don't, we assert that you would have to have a plane shorten flight times if Earth's turning underneath the plane. Now, Earth's claimed to be turning underneath the plane to induce what they call Coriolis effect incorrectly when they actually describe it, but ultimately they've still got a presupposition of an Earth turning and a 15 degrees an hour claim to be deflection, and a claim that that's tied into Coriolis effect, which is then bastardized into a different effect called Globiolis. Anything else? Hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, just a real simple one. The apparent motion of the star movement is at stake here. So either the stars are moving and the Earth is stationary, or the Earth is moving to cause the apparent motion of the stars. Well, one simple way to find out is to get off the Earth that's rotating, if it is rotating. Well, drones and with cameras have hovered off of the Earth, and the stars continue to rotate, and the Earth is not spinning them.
So you're saying if I'm playing ball with my son and I throw a ball to him, there should be some sort of deflection I see optically, correct? If Earth was turning?
If there's Coriolis effect, then yes, that's what Coriolis effect is. The illusion of a ball turning as you remain on a turning reference frame. It moves in a straight path, but from your observation beneath it, it looks like it turns. Or curves, sorry. Well, that appearing to curve when it's actually travelling straight is Coriolis effect. Earth is claimed to have Coriolis effect. Now, the fact that it doesn't is a problem. The reason it's claimed to have it is because that's what's claimed to be, as detailed by 10th, literally 3 minutes ago. The claim observed in the stars, the 15 degrees an hour deflection, is claimed to be as a result of Earth turning beneath them. It just induces all sorts of other problems, because we don't observe any other Coriolis effect. The consequences of Coriolis effect is Earth turning underneath stuff, precisely as being described. But we don't observe that effect. So we end up with what Brian described, which is a bastardization of Coriolis effect, with actual deflections in things described hemispherically when travelling north. Well, that's not Coriolis effect, but it's their bastardized version of it.
Well, just to point out a contradiction for the globe. Sorry, are you finished then?
No, I'm just going to add.
This will be the last point on Coriolis, though. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, very quickly. Just a contradiction that the globe makes is they claim you will not see any deviation west to east or east to west, right? Only north to south and south to north. That is the claim of their model, and they all claim it, right? But now I won't go into why because there's new people listening. But the stars move east to west. So it's a contradiction that the stars are going east to west, yet they have this nonsense claim that you won't see any deviation east to west if you throw a football up in the air.
One of many. Let's just give this disclaimer. This is, in my humble opinion, the most advanced, second only to gravity, in terms of the complicated nature of the argument point. And for me, I hate Coriolis effect. I hate the argument. I hate the convolution of it. I hate the simplicity of it. If you do actually understand it, and how 90% of people you talk about it with won't get the simplicity of it, all of it frustrates me. Equally, slightly less so with gravity. But there we go. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Let's move on.
I've got a bit more complex if you wanted it, because we worked this out on Cabal Busters.
We can, but can I just shout out Godzilla? Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla. Any evidence that Chocolate is not the best panel member? Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Go ahead, Adam.
I like that.
With Coriolis, and the optical effect is generated by the two different reference frames. What they falsify within the ball model, what they try to claim is one reference frame with a maintenance, whether they use angular momentum or linear momentum, whichever way they try to word it, what they're trying to claim is that we have one reference frame and different sideways motions, linear motions, both of the rotating Earth and of the object. And it's this differential, which is how they form globiolis, to basically reduce the amount of spin. Because like with Earth curve, they try to flatten everything out. Here, they're trying to reduce the amount of spin because it would be so apparent, because the flight from LA to Charlottesville would be significantly quicker. So the way in which they do it is to remove from two reference frames the fundamentals of Coriolis, put it into one reference frame, and have two differentiating sideways speeds. That's the maths.
Thank you, Adam. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, they even now say that gravity is not a force. Einstein superseded Newton. It's the bending of space-time. They took it to the math. It doesn't exist in 3D reality, so they have to make it exist in their math, where no one could touch it or disprove it, or because it wasn't happening. Mass was not attracting mass.
And it's still
I'll just say helium balloon.
Hold on, Neil, Brian first.
Helium balloon.
Hold on,
gravity.
Chocolate. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, and it still isn't. I was just making sure, and it still isn't. It's not going to. It never did. They found out that it didn't happen, and it never did happen, and they switched it up. So the gravity is now fourth-dimensional mathematics. There is no three-dimensional effect that you can ascribe to gravity in the real world.
Indeed. Chocolate, go ahead.
Helium balloon.
I always like to ask, are we having...
I want to use...
Go ahead, Chocolate.
I want to use the same type of logic that the global uses, right? Because when we asked the first question about geometric horizon, we're told it's the horizon you wouldn't expect to see. Okay, that's the evidence for it. When we're asking about rotation, that's supposed to be happening, and apparent deviations caused by this rotation, we're told, oh, you wouldn't expect to see that either. So with gravity, well, gravity is supposed to be some type of force or something that's pulling everything down. Well, my evidence is something doing the opposite of that, because I'm a glober. It's great.
Right on. Go ahead, Adam.
I'd just like, with that question, to get...
What, that's not cool?
No, it was cool. Nobody disagreed. Sorry, you didn't get a cheer. Hold on a second. Yes! Chocolate, yes! Totally agree. Go ahead, Adam.
He's the best panel member. He needs a cheer.
I think it was a timing thing, Chocolate. That's all it was. Your point was absolutely epic, and it was very true.
Was my applause not enough, Brian? Go ahead, Adam.
The problem is
Hold on,
Chocolate
10th.
sets a
Hold
bar
on,
too
hold on,
high.
10th. Go ahead, Adam. Then 10th.
You went too far, Brian. The way I start with that one is just to try and get the person on the back foot. and to start with the question and ask a genuine question, asking them to clarify. Are you talking about spooky action at a distance or the bending of a conceptualized mathematical force space?
Thank you.
They need to answer that. It's crucial for them. They can't just say gravity because of the massive change outlined previously. It's nice to put it back to them with a succinct description of each type of gravity, which in most cases they won't understand.
Because people don't know there's two different versions. Right. Was it Brian first or 10th?
No, it was me.
Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, it's just that when chocolate speaks, chocolate's bar is too high.
Bars. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Yeah, no, what Adam said is very true. I mean, the first question that I would normally ask is define gravity, but most of the time, with our opposition, they just don't want to answer that question. But that is the best question for a normie to ask them: what is gravity? Because you get different answers because there is different gravities. There's at present 4, right? I won't go into all of them, but the 2 main ones are acclaimed force of attraction between masses, and which is the old gravity. And then there is the recurrent gravity, which is the bending of 4th dimensions of space-time. But what Adam said is very true, because one involves spooky action at instantaneous, that's the important word, instantaneous action at a distance. That's the old one. And the current one involves action being something that is limited to the two-way speed of light calculation. So one has no limit to, it's instantaneous. The other one is not instantaneous. And they're 2 completely different descriptions of 2 completely different things. The old one involves weight, so you'll think your weight is due to gravity, whereas the current one is no, gravity has nothing to do with weight. So there's a load of, it's like calling a Ferrari and a typewriter the same name. They're 2 completely different things.
Okay, we'll get the next housekeeping question in a sec, but in the meantime, I do have a quick note, because there's a fair few new subscribers listening. So the Discord server, which is linked below, which I detail in the introduction, you just have to click and join. But when you have, if the live stream is full or over full, as it is in the case now, it's 20 of 18, which doesn't make any sense, but you can chuck people in after the fact, which may very well be the case if you join the live stream queue. So the live stream queue, which is at the top here, is basically where you join if there was an overfull show, and then somebody would verify you and just chuck you in manually, because you can't join if it's overfull. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, as you couldn't just straight away join the show if you intended to. But if you did, there's a link in the info box below this video. If you are on the panel and you've joined and you want to disagree with something that's being said, obviously don't be rude, but you can just pipe up and say, excuse me, do you mind if I interrupt? And then feel free to disagree with whatever's being detailed. With that being said, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Negative. They're not science.
Come on, expound on that, Neil.
I will. If you're going to study the cause and effect relationship through the scientific method, you need a hypothesis. And if you just have a phenomena that you observe, but you're not able to empirically manipulate the the IV by observing the dV and have control variables, then it doesn't fall within that science of the scientific method, which is to establish cause and effect. So if someone looking through a telescope at the stars could say, yeah, there's a star blinking. I wonder why it's blinking. That's as far as he's going to go.
Yeah, well, I was told that that's observational science.
It's just observation. Now, you can stick science on it if you want, but it's observation, isn't it? The only point I'd say there is they do have natural phenomena, but are they able to vary and manipulate? No.
Yeah, but can you just stick science on it, Adam? Because if you're not doing an experiment, it's not science.
Well, that's why I said
you're just observing it.
No. It's just, that's what I said. It's just observing, Neil, isn't it? You can put science on the word to make it sound more valid, and to steal the empiricism of science, which is what they do, but it's just observing.
Right. I like what QE sums this up, because he talks about how they also strap on the word repeated to make it sound that little bit more scientific. And they go, so QE's explanation for this is, so when it comes to an observation, well, what's an observation? Well, it's looking at something, isn't it? So if I blink, that's a repeated observation right there. How scientific is that?
Well, I have a question about that. If
Hello,
your
John.
description of the phenomenon is incorrect, do you have an observed phenomenon?
Twinkling star is something happening.
Is that? But how do they define star?
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point, isn't it? You can't say what the cause and effect of that twinkling is. You can call it a star, but you can't then go on to science it, can't you? You can observe it, and if you want, in your own mind, you can make up something to satisfy yourself. That's got nothing to do with science. It's got very little to do with your observation, validating your observation, really.
But how do they define star when they say the word? What do they mean?
Well, they mean
Twinkling light in the sky.
presuppositional gas giant in second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum burning also in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. That's what they mean as a heliocentrist looking through their telescope.
So as a heliocentrist, they don't have observed phenomenon.
They can't prove that what they're observing is what they claim it is, but they've still got an observed phenomena, but they can't do anything to validate what they think that phenomena is.
John only normally pipes up when he's got something pretty profound to say. You know, pennies dropped almost immediately, I think. Can I just clarify what you're saying, John? So whereas I, as a either neutral observer or flat earther, look up and go, number one, I don't know what those lights are. However, I can look at one of the lights and go, see how it's off? You can't see it now, it's gone. Now it's there again. Let's call that twinkling. Just for the use of a decent word. Okay? So I'm going to say that light in the sky, quote unquote twinkling, is going to be my dependent variable, my naturally occurring phenomena, something occurring in nature that I can study, right? I can do that. I can label that a phenomena. What you're saying, John, refractive curvature, is that because of the presuppositions that a heliocentrist imposes on that light and their predetermined probable effects that they could be studying, they could not label that presupposed burning ball of gas in a sky vacuum as a phenomena to observe, even if it did twinkle. Am I right?
Right. The minute they have to define the words they use, they're not going to be able to even call it a phenomenon because it's going to contradict laws of nature.
It becomes a claim. It becomes a claim because the description is no longer what's being observed. So it becomes a claim. It's not a phenomenon if they describe it like that. Because they're not describing what they're seeing. They're describing what they think it is. So I would pick fault that's not a phenomena. What you've described there, that's a claim.
Right. So they'll never get.
Hold on, Chocolate. Go ahead, John.
They'll never get to the observed phenomena stage. They can't. Their presuppositions won't allow them.
Right.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah.
I'm confused. What do you mean?
Well,
you're not seeing the star?
Hold on, I'm sure it was Chocolate that was trying
on.
to get a word in, or maybe it was Eli, and I just missed.
It was Brian.
Oh, bloody hell, Brian. Go ahead then, fine.
He told Chocolate to be quiet, and I just left him take the blame. No, the first step of scientific method is to observe a natural phenomenon, right? They are stuck at that step. So because they can't go further than just observing these natural phenomenon, they have to make up stories about them that are not validated by anything. And that's the problem we're in. They wouldn't admit to themselves or to the public that they got as far as step one and they can't go any further. So Neil deGrasse Tyson looking up at a star can give someone a whole big story and spiel about it. And the average everyday man on the street can look up and see the same, what they call a star. And his story is just as valid as Neil deGrasse Tyson's story because none of them can prove it.
Sure, no,
None of them
I
can
completely
validate
agree,
anything they
but
say.
I just don't want to whistle past John's point, which is tied beautifully into that, right? Which is to say that their presuppositions preclude them from studying it as a phenomena going forward. Now, that may or may not be intentional, but ultimately it's true. But by way of presupposition, you can't even detail it as being a phenomena. To study, you've already got a story in place about what it is. So all you're going to be doing is studying what you propose varies versus the story that you've come up with as a presupposition. Well, that's not a natural phenomena when it's already based on the presupposition. John's right.
That's why I wouldn't let them make the claim that that is the phenomena, that is a ball is not the phenomena. Phenomena is the twinkling light in the sky. Now, the impracticalities of them being able to get any further than saying it's the phenomena of a twinkling light in the sky, that's the reality, that they can't proceed scientifically because they've got no way of cause and effect in it. Yeah, but you can't let them classify that as a phenomena. It's not fair to allow them to do so. To then have another track. It's not a phenomena. You can't. The phenomena is what you see, not a description of it.
Right. Okay. So pay attention. Anybody's been watching, not that I knew or have watched Dave McKeegan's response to our absolute annihilation of his stupid claims based on an R value for distances in the heliocentric model. So a slight alteration on one's usual housekeeping question in this regard. Any evidence of the distance to the moon?
No, you would need to have an R value of a globe Earth to support the official claim. And there is no R value measured.
Is it close enough that we could bring a dune buggy to there? Is that cool?
A dune buggy.
Or three of them.
As long as you don't want to bring it back, it's close enough.
Nah, why would you bring it back? And just make a new one and then bring it up there. So just make a parking lot on the moon. Why not?
Up where? Hold on. Up where? Where you bringing it? Up where?
How far is the moon supposed to be in their model, in their version?
220 thousand miles, something like
that. Okay, well,
238,000.
238,000. Okay, well, that's debunked by the Black Swan because the new radius of the Earth would be 250,000.
Yeah, it's beyond. Exactly. So in the Black Swan, not that this debunks the distance in regards to the presuppositional orbital motions made by Kepler and the supposition that there's an R value imposable on the Venus that is in that orbital motion by Christian Huygens. All of that aside, exactly, where's this moon supposed to be exactly? In a sky vacuum. What's it supposed to be? In an orbit. How big is that orbit? Well, based on all of those presuppositions, one of them that we'll come to next in housekeeping is the R value. Well, based on that R value and a derivation of a tangent point horizon that Al-Biruni would use to give you your R value, you've got a calculable radial value for a sphere Earth at 250,000 miles based on the Black Swan, if you're going to apply globe Earth geometry to it. That would be to say, as we detailed earlier when covering the Black Swan, and Adam did a very eloquent job of it, I'm just repeating him. If you've got a hill in the way, there's calculable geometry to where the hill will lie. Well, if you're going to claim that Earth has a curvature measurable at the horizon, and you use the horizon in the Black Swan to calculate that geometric value for R, using the Al-Biruni method, the derived R value puts Earth as a sphere bigger than the orbital value of the moon, i.e. the distance is beyond the claimed distance to the moon in the heliocentric model. That's how big Earth would be if you calculated radius based on understood geometry and derivations of a sphere edge, hill, horizon getting in the way of things in the distance, as is claimed by the globe Earth.
That's a problem. That's a big problem.
The distance is actually the distance, the length of the radius, just by the Black Swan photograph. If we put the Black Swan horizon at 10 miles away from the 1 foot observer height, then that gives them an actual distance of 263,000 miles of a radius.
That's a minimum.
More than even 250.
Well, the thing is, it's not calculable, but we've put 10 miles on it because you've got 9.4 and 6.7 or something miles to those two different oil rigs, right? Hill, House, and Habitat. Well, because one of them is just under 9.5 miles away, and the horizon's considerably beyond that, you can say at a minimum it's 10 miles away. Now, because you're going to have to ascribe physical geometry to it, in the modus tollens supposition that if Earth's a sphere radius 3959, every measurable distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's globe Earth geometry, as laid down in globe Earth maths, and the R value as begged in the globe Earth maths. So that's basically the laid down of the claim. But you can still apply the formula to the horizon in the black swan, and that's where you end up with I'll try and be more accurate. It's like, who cares, 220,000 mile distance to outside edge of the moon. Who cares if it's 240, 238, or if the black swan says it's 270? Ultimately, we're talking about immense distances and huge sphere Earths based on us debunking your geometry that you can't apply anymore. We've debunked it. We've broken it.
Yeah, if that was the case, that would do problems to what we see in the sky, wouldn't it?
Well, it means you can't ascribe the R value to give you the distances to the sun, the moon, all of the different planets. That's where the distances are derived from.
Well, actually, Neil's question is something I brought up myself, and I said it. I sent it in a message to Adams a while back, just to give the audience, the new members, some information. When they told you your whole life the boats were sailing over a physical Earth curve in the distance, they were telling you a lie.
Hill.
Because officially, a hill, sorry, physical hill in the distance, they were telling you a lie. Because officially, and this is what they kept quiet, officially, the horizon is now, always has been, and always will be, an optical phenomenon. It is not officially physical geometry. So, and within their model, it changes position because their globe Earth changes in size. So they literally claim that mathematically, their radius, the radius of their globe will change in size. And so if you see something that doesn't match their mathematics, that you see the horizon at a distance that doesn't match their mathematics, they'll just turn around and tell you, that they'll try and claim refraction, but what they're really claiming is a change in the size of the radius of their globe. So that's why their globe in the black swan photograph can have a 260, 3,000 mile radius, which would make it over 1 million mile circumference. So that is the first piece of information that I wanted to tell these new people. That is what they see out at sea when they see the horizon. That is not officially, not just us, officially, that is not geometric Earth curve. It's not geometry, it's an optical phenomenon.
Which leaves them with a paradox. So if the official rhetoric is that it's not physical geometry, Earth curve, edge, horizon, hill with boat falling over it, then it means that you can't derive an R value in the first instance. There's no way of measuring it. And further to that, there's no way of ascribing the geometry to it. So how are you supposed to do tangent planes to an edge on a sphere if you can't see it and can't measure it? And how are you supposed to presuppose that you've got a tangent to a sphere edge if you haven't got an R value because you can't measure it? So it leaves them with several paradoxes in terms of their claim in the first instance. Or to put it another way, claiming refraction at the horizon debunks the geometry, because then the horizon no longer represents a tangent point.
Well, just something, what Nathan said there was...
Sorry.
Just I'll be quick, Chocolate. I know I'm hogging the mic. What Nathan said there was absolutely epic, because that is the main point. That means that the geometry they claim they could never have gotten, because we could never see what they would need to see to measure for this geometry. So their geometry does not exist. It's purely mathematical.
Exactly.
So they're Fuji, right? But something else for newer people, or not newer people, for more established people to think about is, what about how come when 7/6 and greater than 7/6 R changes the radius of their sphere, how come the sky never changes along with it, as it would have to do?
Let's move on.
Is a misapplication of mathematics?
Is a misapplication of mathematics what?
Is that mathematics? Doing it wrong? Is that math?
You add the numbers up wrong, then not really. But if you misapply or misdescribe the mathematics to the reality you're trying to emulate in maths, then it's just a misapplication. It's still maths, isn't it? The maths is right. It's just its application to, or its description of reality is not right.
But that could only be done by people. I mean, you can't really blame maths for that, can you? You can't blame French because somebody's being deceptive in French.
Actually, you got to blame. Actually, you got to blame Flat Earth for everything because they've got it from the angle measurement to Polaris.
You got
Nice
a point
segue.
there.
Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved Earth baseline?
Negative. There's no way you could do that.
Well, my point about that is if I get a problem of 2 minus 2 and I add 2 plus 2, did I just do math?
You could call that, but you could, by giving me that question, afterwards I could say, have you just done English? And it's the same principle, with the same response being applicable to both. Do you see my point?
Right. I could say, fish, knee, hi, hello.
And then ask, English? Have I just done English? Because you've just strung a few English words together. And I go, yeah. And likewise, when you said, have I done maths? Well, yeah, I suppose.
If when you said those words, you wanted me to bring a
syntax,
fish high up to my knee.
Hold on. John's got an overriding point that he hasn't got to yet, I feel. Go ahead, John. Sorry, Adam.
Right, there's principles and other things at play before you can call it math, I think. And if you misapply a principle, then you're not doing math, you're doing delusional work. Because math works if you do it correctly on real things.
I disagree. So just because I'm using words to be deceptive doesn't mean I'm not using English. Just because I'm misappropriating mathematics to describe physical reality incorrectly doesn't mean you're not doing maths.
Hold on. You didn't just hear his example with English?
They're just languages, Neil. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the language of mathematics or the language of French. They're both just languages.
Yeah, but he was doing English with the words he put together.
If in reality...
Hold on, Adam. I know you were in the queue. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm just saying, the way John just spewed out a few words, is it English? Because it made no sense to me.
Depends what he meant there. If he wanted you to bring a fish high up to your knee when you meet, then it makes perfect sense.
Hold on. Let me recontextualize and repackage his words, Neil. If I put a guy in a polo neck with a smoking jacket and black jeans and some loafers, and he had a cigarette, and he's hovering slightly hunched over a mic, and there's a very dark room with an audience, and he said those series of words with a lot of pause and emphasis, you could call it poetry.
Enter right. I understand what you're saying.
Let me just try a different thing, John. A proposition to you, John. So if I know if I plant a seed, I will get 100 tomatoes from that seed, and I go away and I do the maths, and I multiply it, and I've got 4 seeds. If I actually get 500 tomatoes or 300 tomatoes, the maths was correct, just didn't describe reality very well. Wasn't a very good description, but the maths are still correct.
The maths for what? You're going to have to, because I don't think those maths exist.
The maths exists, but different example would
for
be,
what?
say you go to the bank and you say, I'm going to plant 20 seeds. Each seed's going to yield 20 tomatoes, right? And based on it, I can sell it for this amount, and I need a loan to go and buy the seeds. Then you go and plant the seeds, and the bank's looked at the numbers, and the numbers are all correct. You've looked at the average yield of a tomato plant, and you've got the average yield, and everything's all cushy. But then some bird comes and eats all the seeds, and you get none. Right? Was that not maths? The maths was right.
Well, no, the average yield of a tomato plant is what we're working with, and then you're adding in a new variable with the bird, and then you're saying it's
Yeah.
that's math.
No, we're saying comparatively
No,
with
I
your
don't
example
see
in
the
mind,
description
is that
nowadays.
not maths because it was completely wrong and didn't represent reality? Comparatively the same as the example we're using that you're saying isn't maths?
All right, PV NRT. PV equals NRT. Is that math?
Yeah. Well, it's a description with
Does it
letters
represent
and symbols
reality?
that represent things in reality that can be defined.
Within certain limits, yeah.
Right. So things that can be defined. Now we're
Yes.
talking about specific things.
No, it's,
Yes.
but again, it's a
I'm interested.
mathematical-
Let him go there, Adam. I know I've cut you off twice. I'm really sorry. Go ahead, John.
So what about when you're talking about things that can't be defined?
I can do the maths for how much unicorn fodder I'm going to need. I can still do the maths as an example and use that maths for something non-existent as a teaching tool for how to do maths as a principle of the maths. Does it matter that there's no unicorns or feed because there isn't any unicorn hay to give them? Rainbow hay doesn't exist. So what? Still maths.
Right. But the unicorn.
So he's got one last chance to
description
just get
of
out of
the
jail.
unicorn,
Go on, John.
where you
Then it's over to Adam.
the mathematical description of the unicorn, where are you going to get that from?
Didn't quite catch that. One more time.
The mathematical description of the unicorn. Right. Are you really going to be able to do that?
As a hypothetical example, yes. But as a deceptive human being, I can also say, no, this isn't hypothetical. This is for my unicorns. And the maths doesn't change in any way.
Well, see, the thing is, like, if you're working with certain principles, right? Like, if you change the volume, then the pressure changes, right?
In physics,
Of a gas.
well, but that's the physics of the gas, the
Well,
physicality
are
of the
we
gas.
not talking about the physical world?
Not
So
necessarily.
you're not talking about the physical world.
Not necessarily. In maths, you don't necessarily have to
You're
ascribe the
talking
numbers
about
to
the
something
imaginary.
physical. No, you don't have to in maths, no. There is an assumed and even implied and sometimes explicitly stated correlation, especially by our heliocentric priests, that there is a direct correlation and even effect and cause by these numbers. There is not. It's just language. But that's inferred and implied and sometimes explicitly stated as being the case when it is not. So I do know where you're driving at, and I'm glad we've got to the end of this. It's the confusion between... It's red rhetoric, right? Math
I'll
is
try
reality.
one more
That's
time.
a red rhetoric statement. Math is reality. No, it isn't. It's a language that can be used in certain circumstances to describe reality. It can also be used to describe non-reality.
Right. Okay. Let me try it again. The radius of the spherical radius of a flat plane.
Okay? What about it?
Can you do that? Is that math?
But it doesn't
You
exist.
can, John.
Yeah,
You can
it is.
find that radius.
If I measure the...
Getting the spherical radius of a flat plane, is that mathematics?
No, but I can describe how I can acquire the elevation angle minimums to Polaris and describe that as an equatorial plane in mathematics and then change that with mathematics into a sphere. Okay, that's where you're driving at. I get it. But none of those things exist.
That's not math.
There's no line from the sextant to the star. There isn't a line. It's an imaginary line between me and the star when I line it up in the sextant. There's no line to the horizon. And when you've got the position at Polaris at its minimum, it's on the horizon. Well, there's no circle of equal elevation then to be described as the equator. None of those things exist in physical reality. They've just been conjured into existence through maths, elevation angle measurements, etc. But they've just been conjured. So those things, so it's like, I had to be woken up to this by QE when I started talking about the equator and essentially reifying it into something that's in physical existence, globe or flat? Well, it isn't. Show me. The way you did it was right. Show me the equator. What do you mean? Show it me. And you're like, well, it's this line on this map. No. Show it me. Where? No, not on the map. In physical reality, show me an or the equator. You can't, can you? Because it's an arbitrary position that somebody's designated based on the minimum angle measurement to Polaris, and then a circle of equal elevation drawn based on all of the points around that line that can also see a minimum with Polaris on the horizon. That's all it is. But this is all conventional. It's just things we've invented to describe stuff. Now, if that convention for something that describes something that does exist in physical reality, there is physically a place we can call the equator, but the equator itself is just a convention. Well, that line that I've just now taken my time to explain has been explained for one specific reason, which is that those lines between the description of the reality with the mathematics and the reality of mathematics, which isn't the case, is where they have blurred the lines to deceive you into fourth dimensional space-time, gravity, and a whole number of other things that are including the heliocentric model itself and orbital motion, to believing our physical reality because of the mathematical descriptions.
Can I give an example of that on screen? So it will link the two things we were talking about, the black swan. So as a joke, I rearranged
before you
the
do.
logical. Okay.
We'll just yield for 1 second, John, because we have had a lot of John. And I've cut off Adam 3 times. Go ahead, Adam.
So as a joke, I rearranged the distance to the horizon formula so that it would be a lot easier for you to work out that 250,000 miles. So you can figure out the new size of your ball by 2640 times the distance to the horizon squared divided by the observer's height in feet. And that will give you based on the assumption that the horizon is the leading edge of a sphere, the new R value for that day. The question I'd ask you, John, is that maths incorrect on screen?
Beautiful. Can you see that, John?
Well, but my question never was answered because you can't determine the spherical radius of a flat plane.
No.
That doesn't make sense.
No, in physics, it doesn't make sense.
That's
Yeah? You see where I'm going?
in imagination land. It can't make in imagination land. It can't make sense either because a flat plane isn't a sphere.
But yeah, I can, and it has been done in mathematics to the point where people now reify that very mathematical, what did I call it earlier? Conjuring into the very ground they believe to be standing themselves on. So your disbelief of how it can't be done with maths is back to the convolution between people's misapprehension of maths versus physics.
No, it's not that I don't believe you can't misapply mathematical principles and come to these delusional beliefs. I'm not saying that. That's just not math.
I disagreed at the beginning of the conversation. I'm going to have to continue to disagree. Adam, do you side either way? I'm pretty sure you'll side with me.
Well, I know that's not the question John asked. I'd ask John to answer my question. Is that maths incorrect that's on screen?
This is the maths for a new horizon on the day that you apply the formula. I love this. This is comical. If you're mathematically inclined, this is an RDR moment, right?
It's a geek.
May I ask what the red line drawn out? May I ask what the red line drawn out from your feet is?
Yeah, that's a tangent on the ball.
From your feet?
Yeah, that red line. Yeah, it's a tangent on the top of the ball.
No, not the one from your eye to the ball.
No,
from your
chord.
feet.
Is it a chord?
That red one. That's a tangent on the top of the ball, that.
Which one? The one coming from your eye or from your feet?
The one coming from my eye, that's a tangent. The one coming from my feet is a tangent on the top of the ball where I'm stood. The one coming from my eye where it intersects the top of the ball halfway towards the tree is a tangent at that point where it intersects at point C. They're different tangents.
These terms sound very mathematical. I've got to be honest.
So if you were on a basketball, that would work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could say what size basketball you were on that day.
That is correct.
See, your objection is to what I apply it to means that the maths is incorrect. Because the thing I'm applying it to is unicorns or whatever, therefore the maths is incorrect.
Yeah, that is what you're saying, John. You're saying that it's not maths because of its application to the physical. Have I lost John? I think we might have. He was getting a bit sketchy. Hello, Quantum Eraser. How you doing?
Shameless plug.
Yeah, that's what I was introducing you for.
Yeah, the treatment this evening, 5 o'clock. We're going to go to 5 p.m. We're going to try that. Probably won't work for me either, but we're going to go 5 p.m. with the treatment with Denise and Mr. Bagoo. Denise, formerly known as Denise, but Nancy.
Okay, so the treatment on Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Be Here or Be Sphere, 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Central.
Is it 10 p.m. UK or 11 p.m. UK?
Is it the same time as you did it last time or an hour earlier?
Half an hour earlier.
And it's last time it was at 11:30, so it's 11. 11, yeah. 11 p.m. UK time tonight, Thursday, if you're watching live.
Yeah, starve us all. You starve us all for like 6 days, and then you're going to slam us for everything? I see the game.
Feast and famine, Neil. Feast and famine.
Epic. So we didn't concisely rattle off the housekeeping questions with nice, concise newbie answers for people who might have joined as a new subscriber in the last week. But there we go. We're almost at the end of the housekeeping. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Negative. You need off for that.
It's the one question I knew there'd be no expansion needed on. There's a claim there's a molten iron core. Ultimately, the one you'll be standing in when you're measuring elevation angles at the equatorial plane. Ha ha ha. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Negative. Without the container, you can have no pressure.
Right, we'd all be dead.
Press.
Absolutely, gas has got to press on something. There's no container to press on in the heliocentric model. There's just a space for it to expand into. We'd all be dead.
John mentioned it earlier for the geeks. PV equals nRT. So
what's the V?
Pressure.
What's the V?
Yeah, exactly. To have pressure, it's defined by the V. V being the volume of containment. And in their heliocentric model, there is no containment. So the V becomes
space.
The whole infinity of space.
Right. So PV equals nRT. V is volume. What's the volume? Well, it's everything from ground level out to infinity. That's what the volume would be. Well, if you calculate how much gas we'd have, we wouldn't have any.
Well, we certainly wouldn't be doing this show because we would not be here.
Wouldn't have what?
We would not be here doing this show because we'd all be dead.
Oh, yes, we'd all be dead. There'd be no gas to breathe if the sky was a vacuum. Absolutely correct. I think that's it. I think we
While
did
you're
that.
at it,
I think we did
while
cover
you're
every...
at it, what's NRT?
Yeah, well, that's what they also do is they replace the T with G. So it's in their model, it's a P not V equals N or G. So there's no V because there's no volume, right? There's no container, and there's no T because they take the temperature out and they add in G, which would be the old and busted force of gravity.
There's an ideal gas constant and the number of atoms, molecules, depending on
into your mic.
Sorry. Ideal gas constant and then the number of molecules. So they mediate that PV relationship as well, you see. But fundamentally, and none of it can exist without the V. Because without the containment, none of it's relevant. All that happens is gas does what gas does, which carries on a straight line path based on its last collision. Now, if you've got infinity open to you, once you head towards that infinity, you're never coming back because there's no collisions to send you back.
Yeah, but you can't have you can't have P without the V.
Yeah, you need something to be able to press on. That's the containment. Yes, it can press on other gas molecules as it dissipates into the rest of the volume, but that's based on the V. That's what the V gives you. Volume. Volume of the containment. Did we miss any housekeeping questions?
Yeah, I think we missed one. I don't think it's our housekeeping questions. I think it's Mr. Magoo's housekeeping question. Is there any evidence that Western Kansas is not sea level?
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Primary Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
See the flashback the other day with what was this clown's name? Planner Walk. And you had to break out. He went into science and he had to break out the pink writing. It was great, man. Kind of miss those days. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, what can you do? You obliterate every fundy on the anti-flat Earth scene and they don't want to come back. Shocking, innit? And they all want terms. Come to my neutral platform. Yeah, get lost.
Neutral outcome platform.
Said it in the pre-show.
I'm going to give Adam a hard time, though. I didn't push it, but the line he drew out from his feet, he never did define. He just kept calling it a tangent.
Wouldn't it be a chord line?
Well, let's just disagree to disagree.
There was some corkers in there, wasn't there?
You're
just straw arming me.
Does Kiwi want to table this topic?
So look, is there any evidence that gas is held to the center of a sphere by gravity? Air. What? Air.
That was embarrassing. Yeah, but Nathan, we're doing this for the audience. So how would it work on a flat Earth? The question I can't answer working on a ball Earth.
I suggest that after the next 3 seconds, you interrupt me when I'm, I don't know, 10% into my answer.
Yeah, where did you find those guys? How the hell did they end up over there?
It's
That
Patrick's
Let's
network.
go back to the causeway.
They're colleagues of Patrick's.
The causeway. That was a power line coming out of Brian.
Yeah, let's go. Anyway, let's. What?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just that's what they did. It's like Nathan gave him something that was completely undeniable, and your man, the guy with the beard, went, anyway, let's go back to the causeway. And they were never even at the causeway. They were at the power lines.
Yeah, the audience have picked up on this. Again, I talked about this in the pre-show. That platform, Rumble, is predominantly with people having political discussions on it. So that sort of thing does not go unnoticed by virtue of the type of audience. I know I'm stereotyping a Rumble audience, but that's just the impression I've got based on the platform, which is paid and attracts a certain audience.
No, you're right, because a lot of people are going over there because of all the censorship on YouTube and other platforms like that.
There was a heavyweight fight called Rumble in the Jungle.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Dun, dun, dun.
When you say it doesn't go unnoticed, Nathan, could you expand on that, please? Or expound on it, maybe?
Well, for instance, there was a super chat that made it explicitly clear during the show that said, you guys talked directly through and didn't answer any of the Flat Earthers' questions. Thanks. Yet another thing to worry about. Now I'm a Flat Earther. Here's $10. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
I've just spoken to a few people about what Rumble was. That's all. Since going on, I had no idea what Rumble was, and I'm like, after the fact, well, what's Rumble? What sort of people are going to Rumble? What sort of content's on Rumble? So, and just people answered me.
We should take this to the auction house and say, I got 10 for Flat Earth. Do I hear 1150? 1150. I see 12.
Rumble is a political arena, and it's a very, very large platform. You did well to get on there and bring this information out.
Right, my point is, it's not your average, maybe teenager or skank and file normie that's listening on Rumble. That's my point. So when people are like concerned that my re-up of my version of it I recorded on YouTube, there's certain aspects of it that might go over my audience's head, I'd say, well, no, because it's my audience. And again, similarly, there's a higher level of discernment on the whole for people watching this show. That's just the way it is. Because YouTube have refined my audience, not through wanting it to be that way. So, you know, I've got a very, very, excuse me, attentive and refined audience in that regard. But this whole platform has that. So in the same way that someone like QE can go, look, check it out. Every single time there's a question answered, it's not responded to and it's moved on from. Well, QE's not the only one noticing. And I'm saying that the type of person watching on Rumble is going to be the type of person who also goes, oh, that's not getting addressed then.
Yeah, that they did avoid just about every question other than your name. But it was for the audience sake.
Did they really hit you with the too biggie, no curvy? Because I heard Quantum Erasure saying that.
But again, a lot of people might not have coped with that. I know you guys. I listened to QE's response to that in that regard as well. But you got to remember that's a curveball for me, because what you then how do you deal with somebody who fundamentally denies the premise of their own claim? You don't know their motivation for doing so. Maybe they've been fed the information as QE's postulated for a motivation later down the line when they deny flat Earth elevation angles. Maybe that was a build-up to a denial later down the road. Or maybe I'm giving them too much intellectual credit in that regard. Who knows? Who cares? It's just a curveball. What is my response to that? You just don't know your own claim, was what I said to him, because that's how it comes across. But that's a curveball. How do you deal with somebody who says that's one of the things that used to frustrate me about Coriolis, their fundamental denial of the premise of their own claim when you put it to them. Case in point, you and your reference frames are ruined. Oh, right. So how do you deal with that? Do you, A, start educating them on their own claim, or just call them stupid and say, why the hell am I having to tell you your own claim? Get frustrated in a good way, which is how I hopefully dealt with it. Tell him, this is your claim, you should know it. I'm not going to sit here and educate you on it, but only because I've fallen into the trap a dozen times before.
Nathan, it's obvious that the claims they have, the official claims based on our, well, we know what their claims are better than they do, is not anything they can go to prove anything in reality. This is the doublespeak. This is the opposite of what is happening. So they can't ever defend it, and it's not being defended. So they squirrely around and say refraction. They do all these other things. I'll give you a case in point. Celestial navigation. The books show all the measurements for the angle measurement where the vertex is coming from the equatorial plane. That's where they're measured from. Then they stick a picture of a dingleberry and draw a tangent plane right where the equator is and say, this is the equatorial plane. They just draw a line there. And it extends all the way to the celestial sphere, even matching, extending with the celestial horizon or celestial equator, matching their equator. One big giant disk. That's where all the angles are coming from the book. Then they put this dingleberry, and then on top of the dingleberry, they have two more tangent planes. One at the eye level, which they call the sensible horizon, and then one where the feet is on top of the ocean at that point. And it's a full tangent plane. And they all are flat, horizontal, straight. And all the measurements are coming from that baseline. And they say all three of these coincide. Okay. Then why do you have that circle or that thing representing a sphere there? Because none of it's coming from that surface. Why'd you put it there if none of it's coming from a curved surface? Now, we can show this out of their books. You know what the response is? Yeah, but you see the other pictures? You see how it works on it? No, you don't understand. I'm pointing out something here that should alert your senses, and you should say, wait a minute, they can't say this and have it work on the ball, but 99.9% of the book says it's working on the ball. But this one thing destroys that whole claim. Now, match that to Coriolis, match that to gravity, match that to the R value, it's the same.
Indeed.
Wait until the next one.
Nathan, about what he said. Sorry?
Nothing. Coded language.
What do you mean, the next one? The next
Coded language. We can't talk about it yet.
Oh, all right, okay. No, Nathan, what you asked about the question that guy gave you, right? He said, it's too big, right? Now, my response to that in my own head, now, I wasn't in the debate, so I can't say I would say this in the debate. But my first response was, well, if it's too big to see, then how did anyone ever measure it? You know, that would be what I'd say to him. And then he'd have to, well, it can be, and he'd have to come up with some nonsense, right? And then it would lead him back to the actual official globe claim. But it's hard when you have all these facts and figures in your head, and someone comes at you with this absolutely asinine question or response. It's like, it's the hardest thing to deal with if you're being professional about something, someone who's being a complete fool about it. You know, that question is harder to deal with because you don't have a response for that. You know, you're looking through your database of answers and all the calculations and the maths and the figures, and there's no answer for that. It's just the guy is just saying anything. So it's a very difficult question to answer when someone does that, when you have a lot of information about the topic.
Right.
Brian, let me ask you a direct question. How many statute miles converts to 1 nautical mile?
1.1508.
Okay. He said 75 miles.
You meant a degree. You mean a degree. How many statute
Well, that's where I'm going to. That's where I'm going to. Because, I mean, no, I want you to go with that 1.15, because a nautical mile is always going to be 60 because of the 360. So it's always going to be 60 nautical miles. It's never going to change. How they convert with the statute miles is the distances on Earth, if I'm saying that right. That's why they're not the same.
Yeah, because the nautical mile has to match the one minute of degree.
Correct. So he said it was 75. Then he jumped around. So he didn't even know it. You know it. We know it. We read it out of their own books. He didn't even know it, and he was a Navy guy.
Yeah, well, I would have been caught there because I would have said to him, I would have gone correcting him, telling him it's 69.04. And I would have come at him with a big correction, when the truth is that I know I would have done it. I know I would have fell for that trap. But the truth is just leave him off and just say, nah, that's not wrong. That's not right. You're talking rubbish. Sort your own claim out. Do you know what I mean?
You did have to deal with that circumstance like a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Say it again, Nathan, sorry?
I said you had to deal with almost identical circumstances like 2 weeks ago.
Remind me what it
I don't know. You were chatting to somebody and you dealt with it basically best as me in all regards from memory.
I suppose this situation has. Hang on.
It was a joke inferring that you'd already done it, been there, got the T-shirt 2 weeks ago.
Sorry. I got it here. Well, 2 weeks ago. When did that happen? But no, it's like when someone doesn't know their own claim and you have the details, you are likely to start correcting them on their claim. And it's not wrong because in some ways, because you're showing the audience that you have the knowledge and you have done your research and whatever. But at the same time, it's not your claim. So maybe you're better off doing what eventually Nathan did. It's just like, no, I mean, you have to ask your partner, Patrick, to be quiet. Like, it's their claim. Let them come up with it. You know what I mean? It's like, leave them fumble around because all you're doing is helping them out, isn't it? You know, but I would have probably fell into the trap. I would have probably started spewing out, no, it's 69.04 and blah, 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 you know, trying to tell him and be a know-it-all.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, I was thinking of you when he did that, and I would have set him up. Well, you know, I wouldn't have held back. I would have said, now, where'd you get that number? And can you give me a citation, please? Because I thought it was a different number. I would just play around like that. Because it's a conversion rate.
Well, look, what we were dealing with, sorry, not us, what Nathan was dealing with there, was a situation where the two guys who were both being fed, the tactics were being fed to, what's the lad with the beard? Dave, is it? And the information was being fed to your man Josh. That's why your man Dave kept on sending it.
Nancy, sorry? I think it's Nancy.
Yeah, but whatever reason, yeah, but look, people aren't going to find him by the name Nancy. You know, if they're looking for him. He's not going to find Nancy. They're going to find. They're going to.
Today. Hang on. Today he can identify as Nancy. Today he can identify as Nancy.
Okay, but in reality, if people are looking for this person, they're not going to find him by the name Nancy, right? So just for this purpose, they're going to use the name he has, which I think is Dave or David. He was getting the tactics fed to him. He was keeping quiet, and he kept feeding the questions to your man Josh, right? And your man Josh was being fed information. So there was tactics going to your man Dave and information going to your man Josh, and they were working as a team. And Nathan was just being honest, just having the debate, and Patrick was just there having the debate. But Patrick knew these two guys, and I think your man Patrick, I don't know him personally, I haven't met him, but I've heard of him. But he seemed to expect something out of them, and it's not what he expected. That there was no doubt about it that that guy Dave with the beard, that he was being fed tactics and that this Josh guy was being fed information. That's what was happening. And there was people communicating with them, telling them what to do. Now, it was an absolute failure, an absolute unbelievable failure, because the two of them look like the two biggest idiots on the internet at the moment. But that is what was happening.
Well, that's why when they do that, it backfires. And if they're honest, they have to concede. So since they never concede, they do that and it backfires. So we win every time.
I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
I think we need to do a review of that show on FED and let us say a few things about it because everyone else is doing it.
Well, people have. Like Flatsoid's done it and QE's done it. But I can't.
Oh, I know.
Because it's confusing.
No, it's not confusing. Will you allow your panel to comment? You just moderate.
Anyway, we're talking about it now.
There's so many gold mines there. I know. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to tell people to listen to it and say, what do you think of this? And if I can, I'll listen to it with them. And it's like, well, I guess you're right. Yeah, that kind of, yeah, he was over talking. And what's this agree to disagree when it's either or?
No.
There wasn't.
Disagree to disagree.
It's disagree to disagree.
Oh, disagree to disagree. Well, that's a new one. They even screwed that one up.
It is a very good advertisement for flat versus globe. in 2023 for anyone who wants to know. It's a perfect advertisement for the progression from 8-9 years ago. This is where we're at. This stupidity, yeah. It shows who was being honest, who was being adult, and who was just BSing, bullshitting their way through a debate and through life.
Well, if they want to disagree, they need to go to Globebusters.
Wouldn't that be
Hang on. So they need to go Globebusters where they don't want to kill the globe arguments whatsoever. So they can go disagree over there. But when they come to FED or anything related to FED, we're here about one thing, that's winning our point in a debate. We're not here to have a draw. We're not here to lose. We have great questions that just don't get answered by ballers. And the questions are based on their official claims of why they're a baller. And it's embarrassing. And I like it.
Isn't agreeing to disagree effectively the exact counter opposite of having a debate? I mean, right?
Yep, it is. Somebody's got to win.
If in a debate somebody says, let's agree to disagree, they're basically conceding that they don't want to debate anymore.
It's not agree to disagree, it's disagree to disagree.
What?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense.
Can y'all hear me? Mic check.
Means let's agree here.
Mic check 1 2. Can I say something real quick, please?
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you at. I just want to say something, and maybe you guys can correct me. I think I came to the conclusion of what it is. I'm not gonna say it's an experiment, maybe an observation or a demonstration, but and which blatantly exposes indubitably that the globers are lying when it comes to the topic of gravity. I'm speaking to a 17-year-old down to a 6-year-old. And what I do is I explain to them the fantastical assertion of gravity. And they understand what it is by what they're taught. So then I say to them, you have a choice of either thinking that gravity is a artificial intelligence selective force or whatever power that makes matter come to matter. So I said, come on, let's step out on the balcony of my home. I have a dime and I have a duck feather or geese feather that I had found. And I dropped them both. And they observed the dime hit the ground immediately while the feather takes its time falling. So I said to them, this is why the liars call it gravity, because they don't want to accept that it's density. I said, and the 16-year-old understood the difference between the density. So she even got into it, even though she's indoctrinated, and she started to understand. And she said, yeah, the dime, although it's smaller than the feather, it's much more denser. That's why it went down faster. And why didn't the feather, as I asked them, the 6 and 8-year-old, that the feather didn't go down as fast? And it's bigger. And they said, I don't know. I said, because it's not as dense. The density of the dime, measurable compared to the medium, which is air, compared to the feather, is drastically more significantly heavier and denser. So that's why it dropped. It has nothing to do with the force. I said, so this is the same gravity that they're telling you that holds down oceans and seas. But you see that, you don't see that when I'm doing what I'm doing. And they actually caught it. Now, why don't adults catch that or understand that? And what is that called? It's not an experiment.
You missed one point, though, if I may. Sorry. It's a good explanation, but like the feather goes down slowly, not just because it's less dense compared to the dime, it also has more surface and there's drag. There's the air is obstructing it from moving down, right? Surface ratio versus density versus the medium. So if it's like very thin and very wide, the air is going to prevent it from moving down faster, as it would.
Right.
The next time you do it, bring out a helium balloon and drop the coin.
Well, they
at the same time.
Yeah. They totally
You
get the
literally
helium
stole
balloons.
what I was going to say.
Yeah. They totally get the helium balloon because they have birthday parties and always have helium balloons for their birthday parties. So they definitely get it on that aspect. But what I wanted to show and demonstrate them to something other than helium that is a mass solid object. with
Well,
different
what would be a
density
good thing to show
measures.
them? What would be a good thing to show them? SSD rows, isn't it? I think from the voice. What would be a good thing to show them would be a helium balloon in a vacuum chamber, and how as the air is taken out, the helium balloon actually falls in the vacuum chamber and ends up sitting on
How
the
am I
floor.
gonna get?
But,
How am I gonna get
when
them on the
they,
vacuum chamber? How am I gonna do that? How am I gonna do that?
yeah, but
How am I gonna?
yeah, but you can
How am I
still.
gonna get a vacuum chamber?
There's
You can see
videos.
yeah, that's what. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
show them a video on YouTube. But the point I'm trying to make, and this is the main point to them, is that they will see when the air has been taken out of the vacuum chamber, they'll see the helium balloon going down and touching off the surface of the base of the vacuum chamber. But the more air that's taken out, the lower the pressure goes. Eventually, what happens is the pressure differential inside and outside the balloon becomes too much, and the helium busts out of the balloon. And then ask them, where is the helium balloon? Where did all the helium go? Did that go down to the bottom? And when they go, no, it filled the chamber.
Okay.
So you're killing two birds with one stone then. And then point to the sky and say, see the way we're breathing. How can we be breathing if all that air is next to a vacuum?
Right.
So
Yeah, I
use
believe
that
the
example.
17-year-old will get that. I believe the 17-year-old will get that, but the 6 and 8-year-old might go over their head. They'll see the video, but they wouldn't really catch that.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what kids don't understand.
Yeah. Okay.
We're told kids can't understand things. We're told that kids can't understand stuff because that's what they want us to believe, that you get smart when you get older. I don't remember being. I don't remember getting smart as I got older.
That you just get more programmed, right?
But
you fall in line with how they say you should be saying it, while kids don't have those predispositions yet. They're very much just observing and trying to figure it out in their mind.
Right. But nevertheless, they got it and they understood. So my question is, they got it. Now they understand that it has nothing to do with this gravity thing, and it has to do with the density and whatever Arwen said, I didn't explain, but still they understood that despite the size of the dime being significantly smaller than the feather, it dropped quicker because of the density of the dime. They understood it had nothing to do with gravity because and they know that gravity is not a selective artificial intelligent force that decides selectively what objects it is going to allow to go down at certain speeds. So they got it, but why don't adults get it? That's the problem. That's where I'm coming to.
No, that question is, when you say, why don't adults get it? I don't know if that's the right question to ask.
I guess they're supposed to be more intelligent than children.
No.
You know, adults claim they are.
Let me finish. When I'm talking to someone and it's about paying a bill or getting the correct change at a grocery store, they get all that. They don't want to leave any money behind that's not for the item they bought. They want to get it and put it in their pocket. They don't leave the store with $5 left at the cashier